It is the next day. It's Wednesday. I am in the process of scanning the pieces for my editorial assignments and also scanning the paintings, the ice cream paintings for Art Star. I think I mentioned that they were of ice cream, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. Not the best lighting, but I'll have scans and better photos of these soon. But this is one piece. This is another one. And the other one is in the scanner right now. And I've talked about this in other videos, but if I have a piece that's too big to scan in one go, I'll do it in batches like this. So I'm scanning the first half, and then I'll flip it over and scan the second half. And then stitch them together in Photoshop, not Photoshop, Pixelmator, which I basically use as my Photoshop alternative. Yeah, so I'm in the process of doing that right now, and I'm scanning them at a really high resolution at 1200 DPI. Let me see if I can put this down right there. Yeah, I'm scanning them at 1200 DPI so that they can be reproduced at a larger size. So it's a bit time consuming. The scans take a long time when you're doing such high resolution. Yeah, so I am working my way through those. I've just done I've done 3 out of 7 scans. So I have a little bit more to go. And then I will probably move on to just editing the images. The deadline for the editorial illustrations is today. So I have to, well, today at noon, so I have to get those all ready to go. I have to remove the background, do any color editing. Yeah, so that is the plan for this morning. I did want to mention a couple of general announcement type things. One is that I've been talking about doing this for a while, and I finally ended up doing it, I think like 2 weeks ago, but like I said yesterday, things have just been so crazy, so I haven't had a chance to update you guys. But I have finally moved my, well, not moved, but I have opened a version of my Etsy shop on my own website, so just kendallhillegas.com/shop. And it has all of the same stuff as Etsy, as well as original illustrations and paintings. And yeah, and on Etsy, because of the fee increases, I did increase my prices a bit on Etsy, but on my shop, the prices are the same as they have been for like the last couple of years. So still the $25 for an 8x10 print, and I can't remember what all the sticker prices were, but all the prices are the same as they were on Etsy before the fees increased. So yeah, that is happening, and if you guys are interested in purchasing any stickers or prints, you should definitely check it out. And the other announcement is that I have actually relaunched my Patreon. And if you have been with this channel for a while, you'll know that I think it was, that noise is just the scanner. So let me just swap this out. This is the, oh boy, this is the other painting, by the way. The purple one. So yeah, if you've been with the channel for a while, you'll know that I think it was fall of 2016 is when I first launched Patreon, and it was really awesome. You guys had a great response to it, and even like the folks who run Patreon, they made my page a featured. One of the featured projects, or I forget what they call them, but I got support from the folks at Patreon as well, and it was overall like a super positive experience. So I know some people have had negative experiences with Patreon, and that was why they stopped, but the reason I stopped, there was like no controversy or like issue. It was just that Penelope was born in January of 2017, and then I think it was like either February or March of 2017 that I just realized like I had too much on my plate, because I ended up getting like a lot more work than I had ever gotten before, and I had some really big assignments, and then I had the baby, and then I was also trying to manage Patreon, and I had done it in such a way that like it created a lot more work for me. It wasn't just like, oh, this is supporting the videos that I'm already doing, or letting people contribute to what I'm already doing, like if they want to. Again, like no pressure at all. But yeah, I think I set it up in a way that wasn't ideal, because I had a lot more, yeah, just required a lot more from me up front. And there was no, even though like there was a positive response, and like I'm so grateful to everybody who did jump on the bandwagon at that point, the threshold wasn't like the amount of money, if I can be frank, wasn't enough that I could turn down other work for it, but it still was requiring me to take a lot of time away from my other work. So I just got one more scan to do, and I figured I would tell you guys a little bit about these pieces. So ArtStar asked me, I don't know, like 6 weeks ago, or I can't remember when, it was a while ago, they asked me to do these paintings. So I went and bought ice cream. I planned out the colors that I wanted to use, so I went and got specific colors of ice cream and waffle cones, and I think it was the last time I vlogged, or maybe the time before that, but one of my recent vlogs, just doing a scan again, one of my recent vlogs had me taking the reference photos, and I still am going to do a dedicated video about that. I have some of the footage shot for it already. But yeah, so you already saw me taking those reference photos, and this is the completion of that. So I've done these at 11 by 15. This is just on my usual like Reeves BFK, this smooth printmaking paper. And I did end up experimenting a bit with the combination of media. So I did my usual like version of a watercolor base. If I'm working on the Reeves, which is the smooth one, then I almost always do just like regular pan watercolor, or lately the Hydrus watercolor I've just been obsessed with. And then I use watercolor pencils more for textured paper, like the Fabriano that I really like. So since these were on the Reeves, I just stuck with the Hydrus, and then I did a few layers of softcore colored pencil and the Caran d'Ache water soluble wax pastel. And then as I was continuing to add layers, I just decided that I don't know why I did this. Like, I always recommend against doing this if you're working on a commission or a client project or something that has a specific end result already in mind and you're not experimenting. I always say to myself and to other people that you shouldn't mess around, and you should only do your usual media and your usual process. But I don't know why, for some reason I got it into my head that I really needed to experiment with this. I think it was because they asked me to do backgrounds, to do colored backgrounds. And I was like, oh, I hate doing backgrounds, but I also wanted to, and I've been wanting to like have like a bit of a different look for the fine art paintings that I do, for things that are more paintings than versus commercial illustration, just so it doesn't all look the same, I guess. So because I had to do the background, I was thinking of like different ways that I could approach it, and I first did wet on wet for the background with the Hydrus watercolor, and I was terrible at taking pictures just because I have been so slammed the past couple weeks and have been feeling like I'm just struggling to catch up. I haven't been as good as I usually am about taking process photos, so I really don't have many for this project, but I think I'll see what I do have and try to throw some up on the screen. I started with the Hydrus watercolor, and then that didn't have the look that I wanted. It looked too different from the rest of the piece, so I did layers of water-soluble wax pastel, and then I even like ground up some soft pastel to kind of mix in and give more opacity to each layer that I was putting down. And then I got really crazy and I decided to use some Caran d'Ache oil pastels. These are the oil pastels, in case you're wondering, and they are really, really nice, super creamy, really nice to work with. I think it was in high school, so it was before I was at all serious about art. I did really enjoy messing around with oil pastels, but they are really soft, and they're made with mineral oil usually. So it's a non-drying oil, so like linseed oil, which is in a lot of oil paints. Once it's exposed to air, like eventually it does dry, but I keep calling them wax pastels. Oil pastels do not ever dry. So I've been really hesitant to incorporate them into my work because even though they have like a really nice painterly look, I need things to dry at least to a reasonable level of sturdiness in order to be able to scan them. So I should have probably just bought like the white one. I realized afterwards I used a little bit of some other colors, but I mostly just used the white one, and I used it kind of almost like a medium. So I would lay down really heavy layers of the colored pencil and then put a little bit of the white in for where I wanted it to be lighter and like on the background and stuff, and then used Gamsol to dissolve it and blend it around, and it made it like so creamy and paint-like. But because I wasn't using very much of the oil pastel, it has, let's see, yeah, it definitely, it needs to be sprayed with a fixative for sure, but it doesn't have like a wet feel or like an oily feel at all, the way that things that are done with oil pastels, like alone or really, really heavy layers of oil pastels, it doesn't have that feel at all. It feels mostly just like a colored pencil piece. It has a lot of layers of colored pencil. So I will still spray these pretty heavily with a fixative, and I think I'm going to mount them to panel as well. Yeah, so I think it worked out okay in the end, but it definitely had some anxiety provoking moments where I just wasn't sure why I was doing it and why I had ignored my own advice about not experimenting on client projects. But yeah, so that is the deal with these. I just finished the scanning, so now I'm going to switch to editing them. Also, before I close up my scanner, I just wanted to show you that there are, I don't know if you can see, but there are definitely some specks on here, because even though those are reasonably dry, they still haven't been, I haven't sprayed fixative on them yet. So they did leave a little bit of particulate on here, so I'm just using an alcohol wipe. This is good to do periodically anyway, even if you don't have like some particularly messy piece, just to get all the dust and anything that might have gotten on the scanner plate, just to get it off and keep it nice and clean. And I use lens wipes. The alcohol wipes are lens wipes, so they're definitely safe for your scanner plate.